very vulgar all around. It's a bunch of nasty, nasty people. But the fact is, I'm proud to live in a society where we get angry about this. 40 years ago, this wouldn't have been a big deal that he said things like this. Well, and today, it gives me hope in America.
Well, I mean, that was what was out there yesterday. Everybody's saying, should, somebody lose their livelihood or their business over a private phone conversation? But, I mean, that's the other thing, is apparently he knew she was taping it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she was the archivist, I guess.
Right,
This goes back to the whole issue. There is free speech, and there are consequences to free speech, and adults need to learn the line.
I'm just happy to know that archivist arm candy is a new career option for the gals. Okay.
Well, I mean, come on. You listen to the tape. He doesn't care if he sleeps with black men. He just doesn't want them bringing him to the games.
Yep.
I mean, he's a really bad racist, first off.
All right, more Fridays with Bugles saying next on the Stephanie Miller Show. Sorry.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I was just reading my own press. Sorry.
All right.
I'm just comparing the difference between our ratings and Rush Limbaugh. It's not important now.
Oh.
Okay. It is the Stephanie Miller Show. Welcome to it. 34 minutes after the hour. 1-800-STEPH-12, the phone number. Fridays with sexy liberal John Fugel saying, good morning, John.
Good morning, Steffers. Good morning, Steph heads out there. And again, great job in Chicago the other night. I'm very excited to finally bring this beast of a tour back to Albuquerque.
Oh, my God. Golly. Next Saturday. Very exciting.
I love Albuquerque so
Me
much.
too.
I fell in love there once. I played at the Revolution International Theater Festival there, the Free Speech Comedy Festival. And when we brought our show there, God, over 2 years ago, it was such a riot. I'm so ready to go back there.
We had a great time.
Their silly governor.
Exactly. We had a great time there with Hal. We had a great time with Aisha, remember, in Santa Fe.
That's right.
So Santa Feasians, this is a whole new show with John and Carlos and I.
Is that a thing?
What?
Santa Feasians?
Santa Feasians. That's what I'm calling it.
It ought to be.
Yes. So come on, get them last tickets. John Fugel saying, you tweeted, is this botched execution murder? You often talk about that Jesus, obviously, got the death penalty. But this was pretty...
not huge on the death penalty. In fact, if there was no death penalty, there's a chance Jesus might still be here.
Right.
And Christians, he didn't say, forgive us our trespasses, as we lethally inject those who trespass against us.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this was horrifying. I think even no matter what side of the issue you're on, this took him fully, 45 minutes to die?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so now, of course, you will hear right-wing outrage left and right today because the family of the inmate is eyeing a lawsuit over the botched execution.
Well, they should, because when you look at the paper trail of how this governor did everything to intimidate legislators and the judges from blocking this execution, our European friends are really turned off by how much we enjoy killing sinners, and they stopped selling us the drugs. And so we now have this own mystery cocktail of drugs to kill people. We don't know what it is. We don't know what it does, because guess what? No one's ever come back from an execution injection to write a review of the experience on Yelp. So, they actually had to lower the blinds because the guy's veins were exploding. Yeah. It was unpleasant for the viewers to watch. No one's saying this guy was innocent of the crimes. No one's saying he didn't do horrible, horrible things. But, America is one of the only first world democracies that still kills people who kill people to prove that killing people is wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and by the way, just so you know, the stepmother of Clayton Lockett said, I'm not seeking financial gain from this. My main thing is I want the process changed. And same thing with the relatives of the guy in Ohio. Remember, John, who was executed in January. Same thing, untested combination of drugs. It filed suit against the state. Dennis McGuire, it took 25 minutes for him to die. He seemed to gasp for air. They also said they're not interested in collecting damages, just in getting the court to bar the chemicals from being used again. So that case pending. Meanwhile, Ohio's prison agency just announced its internal review, found it was humane, and is moving ahead with a more lethal injection using the same drug combination, but just more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It costs less to incarcerate someone for life than to put them to death. And the fact that it's administered so unevenly, there's 22,000 murders a year in this country, and 100 people are sentenced to the death penalty every year. And it's done randomly and unfairly, and this is what should turn conservatives off.
But by the way, that's important what you just said. That's important what you just said, because I don't think people know that, because you hear them screaming all the time on right-wing radio about, oh, we're going to pay to keep these scumbags in prison their whole life, and you're absolutely right. It costs more to execute them, right?
It does cost more to execute them. Death penalty trials are very costly, and the appeals process as well. And you're not going to limit appeals, okay? We have a constitution here. But the fact is that if you're a conservative and you don't like big government, my question is, what's bigger government than being able to strap a guy down to a table, a random sinner, this sinner, not that sinner, this murderer, not that murderer, strap a guy down to a table, inject him with poison the taxpayers pay for in front of spectators, and let him writhe on the table until he's dead? It doesn't get bigger government than that. When a government can murder you in front of an audience, that's big government.
Yeah, did you see they lit up the Colosseum in Rome? You know, every time that we strike down a death penalty in one of our states, because, you know, they know a little something about, you know, what happened at the Colosseum. But, you know, they're obviously very vehemently anti-death penalty. But interesting, these lawsuits, one of the lawyers said it's largely an uncharted area because there's not a whole lot of prospect of winning. He said death row inmates often have distant relationships with family who can't argue economic losses from their death, and I don't think any court will want to award too much to the family of a killer. But, again, I think it's beside the point. It seems like in both of these cases right now, they're just trying to get them to stop this or to, you know, I mean, they're not looking for money.
Well,
John,
yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, and again, you know, I accept the fact that the majority of Americans support the death penalty. I know every Democratic president in my lifetime, I think, has supported it. That's one of the great ironies of this society. You know, Carlin used to say America was founded by slave owners who wanted to be free. Our modern irony is that you can't be president unless you're a follower of Jesus who believes in murdering the sinner.
Yeah, and well, anyway. So we were saying a lot of good news this morning on jobs numbers. The unemployment went down to 6.3. We added, I think, good God, more than 288,000?
Something like that, yeah.
Jobs last month. Obamacare just saved the U.S. economy from contraction is the other headline. So obviously it's going to be all Benghazi all the time. But otherwise, John, things just not looking so good. We have all these doom and gloom, storylines in the media. And meanwhile, Jeb Bush's steep challenge for 2016, new Wall Street Journal NBC News poll. Oh, this is sad. Mr. Bush, or should have been him, smart one.
And Jebby.
Enjoys little of the goodwill his older brother George W. did in the lead up to his 2000 presidential campaign. Among Republicans, particularly motivated ones, the former Florida governor lags likely competitors such as Rand Paul, and he can't hold a candle to the warmth that Hillary Clinton summons among her partisans, to say nothing of young voters, women, and Hispanics. So, they keep having a new great white hope in every cycle, don't they? They think is somehow.
It's a consistently white hope in every cycle, yeah.
Today,
but it's really more like a great white recycle in every cycle.
Yeah. Article reads, today in part because the Bush name overall has taken a beating, you think.
Yeah.
Nearly a third of Americans hold a negative view of him, while just 21% have a positive view. So, but it does seem like that's what they think everybody's going to be the savior. Chris Christie was, right, the one before that, which seems to, I don't know what, the shine seems to be off.
The bloom is off the rose.
I think Chris Christie will still run, and I still think he can run, but it's coming down to
never seen him run.
Race between Jeb Bush for the establishment GOP, Mike Huckabee for the evangelical right-wing Christian demographic, and Rand Paul for the Tea Party borderline nutjob demographic that exists there as well.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a real slugfest in terms of seeing who can raise the most funds between these three parties. Mike Huckabee is definitely running.
I think Jim is correct. I'm not sure Chris Christie will run. I think he will take a helicopter and then a limo and then perhaps
I'll hop around.
and then maybe a motorized scooter. All right. Van Jones on CNN talking about the Republican strategy.
It looks like all spring and all summer the Republicans are going to take every problem on the world stage and use it as an excuse not to come together, not to solve America's problems, but just to blame President Obama. The Ukraine, Benghazi, whatever it is, same script. Obama's making America look weak. No, you guys are doing that. That's what you're doing. America looks weak when we jump into these dumb wars that we can't pay for or win. America looks weak when we got an opposition party at home that won't help the president in the war, in peace, overseas, or at home.
I love him.
Don't you?
I do. He makes me squee. But yeah, he's right. He's absolutely right. Let's take Rich in Philadelphia for John. Hey, Rich, you're on with John.
Hey, Steph, how you doing?
Good.
I'm an advocate of the death penalty. I feel like you got to remove some of these people. If we were killing human beings, I wouldn't feel bad. But what this guy done to that girl, it was unbelievable. And there's no.
You are correct about that.
And Also, these guys kill prison guards. They kill other prisoners. They do what they want. And now, I'm not an anti-abortionist guy, but when Kermit Gosnell in Philly was sticking needles in the back of almost full-term babies, where was the left then yelling about killing and murder and the